for Kuna. All right, thank you, Kuna. Hi, everybody. My name is Ali. I'm a grateful alcoholic. As always, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. I'm a little off today. I'm a little off most days, but it's surprising because I got actually relatively good sleep last night, relatively speaking. I'm a little off, but it's all good. Thank God for prayer and a humble heart and the complete realization that me, along with everyone else here, it's just a spoke in the wheel and a grain of sand in this I don't know, beach adjacent to the ocean of God. Thank God I'm just a drop in the ocean and I know it. And when I realize that I'm just a drop in the ocean, all of a sudden I get to experience that I'm an ocean and a drop. That God is everything, inside every man, woman, and child. And all I have to do, just like everyone else, when you pass on to your sponsees, is to just bear myself honestly and allow God to speak. And thank God we have a sacred text that allows me to follow the message and not try to copy any messenger, right? Couple of things before we get going is, so I know if there's a few friends that have missed some sessions or joined in a little bit late and they're looking to have someone catch them up. Just what a beautiful opportunity that is, because the best way for something that I learned, some new experience, to become really ingrained in the cells of my being is to pass it on to someone else. What a great opportunity for those who take that on. So please, if someone has missed and they're asking for help, please don't just send them notes. That's not going to do much for them. Set up a time for them, take them in Zoom, on the phone, actually do what we did together today. It will benefit both of you. So I think Sally M from Ontario, she was asking earlier. So please, if you don't mind, get connected on that WhatsApp group and help each other out in that way. Our amazing workshop secretary, Everly, has been sending out emails. I hope you're receiving them. So the emails that basically they give you what each session covers, like a table of contents that you can put in the back of your big book, because at the beginning we did jump around a lot. So if you have not received any of those emails, check your junk mail. And if it's still not there, please contact Everly now. She's on here. She's one of the co-hosts. You can send her a private message with your email, and she'll add you on the email list. Can I have somebody that is moved from their heart? The words don't really matter. God doesn't make too hard terms. To pray us in with a set-aside prayer. Heather, is that what you wanted to? Yeah, all right. Yes, please go ahead, Heather. Set-aside prayer.
Okay. God, please set aside everything I think I know about you, me, the program, and the matters spiritual, so that I may have an open mind and an open heart for a new experience.
Oh man, thank you, Heather. All right, okay. So efficiently, effectively, and powerfully taking the steps as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So far, if you've received the sessions, the table of contents and direction each session, we're at session 6 right now, I believe, right? So in 6 sessions, we're going to put pen to, hopefully by the end of this session, we're going to be ready to put pen to paper, right? As opposed to where for a period of my recovery, when I went from the beginning of the Big Book to page 164, and I would lose a lot of sponsees, it would literally take, to get to writing inventory, it would take 3, 4, 5 months, because it's just so much to cover. So what we've done so far in the first 6 sessions is surgically move through the step 1 pages, which is about 51 pages. We boiled it down to about 13 or 14 pages. And the step 2 pages, which is 14 pages in the Big Book, we cut it down to about 4 or 5 pages, right? Surgically move through the first couple of steps as efficiently as possible so we can stay true to the text. Okay? Now, I think I mentioned this before in the Q&As. Every week, my intention is that we have time for the Q&A during the allotted time, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. So a lot of the friends here, they stay afterwards for about an hour. We do a Q&A, and it has been brought up, the question that, what if you know somebody that's been in and out for years, and people try to take them through the Big Book and the steps, all kinds of different ways, and then it's what it seems like to you is like a window of the grace of God, and a gift of desperation has been given to this person, and they just come back for a day or two. right? And your heart says, your heart, not your head, your heart says, I don't think he can last long enough for me to do anything longer than a couple of weeks. I got to get him awakened somehow, right? So my answer to you would be, you are armed, like for example, I'll use myself. I am armed with facts about myself. I've been through the big book many times. I know what the steps entail. There's been times where people like that, when my heart says, oh man, get this person to write inventory ASAP so they can get free of bondage of self a little bit, get free, right? Tap into some power. I've done a step 1, 2, 3 conversation in 1 hour, but being very in the big book, 1 hour, right? I get them to write inventory right there. I help them out. I stay with them while they write. They do a fifth with me. So in one day, we're doing like a 1 to 7 together. I've done that as well. But once they start making their amends, I bring them back to the big book for a more powerful experience, deeper experience. So I hope that, I don't know if anyone else has had that question. I hope that answers your question. So this, as efficient as we can get, yet stay very close to the sacred text, because there seems to be a magic that happens from this written in spirit sacred book. Bill Wilson and the first 100 did not, with their human power, write this book. It was inspired. A book that was written 30-something years ago, right? Sorry, 80, close to in the 30s, 80-something years ago, right? That somehow has had such profound effect on our community that the ripple effects of it have caused millions of people to stay sober. See, spiritual truths stand the test of time. Spiritual truths travel thousands of years, and they're still true today just as much as they were 1,000 years ago. And that's what this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's why I get so excited when I'm talking about this book, when I'm around a bunch of seekers, you know? So just a quick, that was a little intro. Now, last week, what we did was we went through the step 3 pages. If we just go to page 60, we've covered this. If we go to page 60, so ABC, being convinced, we were now step 3, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood Him. Just what do we mean by that, and just what do we do? So that's a good question to ask. What are you talking about? What do we do, right? And then they go ahead and say, we've already done all this, right? The first requirement is that we be convinced any life run on self-right can hardly be a success. So there is a requirement to do the 3rd step. I don't just kneel on my knees because someone says, you're ready, let's do the 3rd step. There is I'm not saying you can, but the power of it is different. There's a must before I even approach the 3rd step. And then the next 2 pages, last week we went together where we turned statements into questions as a spiritual mirror to look at me. How does my life look like when I try to run the show? How does mismanagement of life look like the way I do it, right? And then I come back and I see, oh man, looks like from in black and white, from the evidence of my own life, not because you told me, because I see it clearly, that any life run on Ali self-will can't be a success. It hasn't. You know? And then we're on page 62. If you go on, okay, hold page 62, the bottom of it, go back to page 60. That paragraph, it says, being convinced, now we were at step 3, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood Him. Just what do we mean by that? Just what do we do? We wrote a note to the right of do. It said, answer is in last pair, page 62. The answer to what do we mean by that, and what do we do, is in the last paragraph of page 62. But before I get to the answer, I had to go through 2 pages of convincing testimony from my own life that my life run on my self-will can't be a success. So if you go now page 62, here's the answer. Turn our will and life to God as we understood Him. Just what do we mean by that? Just what do we do? Here's the answer, last paragraph. It says, this is the how and why of it. Last week we circled how, and last week we circled why. Okay. First of all, if you grab the yellow highlighter, important, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. That's in yellow, please. We had to quit playing God. It didn't work. And last week we circled quit playing God, and we circled it didn't work. From the how, this is the how, we circled how, right? If you put a little, somehow put a little line and a little arrow to quit playing God, and from the why, put a little line and an arrow to it didn't work. So this is the how and why of it. How do I hand over my life to God as I understood him? How do I take the third step? Look, it says, first of all, I quit playing God. Why? Not because I'm a bad person. None at all. Forget about right and wrong and judgment and moral character. Forget about all that. Very simple reason. It didn't work. I gotta quit playing God. It didn't work. So how do I quit playing God in my life? Very general, in a general way. Ready? Very simple. Very, like an umbrella of how Ali quit plays God in his life, right? When I disagree with what is happening. That's it. That's when I'm playing God. Why is she talking to me like that? Why is my boss not treating me right? I deserve more money. I'm afraid. What's going to happen to my finances? Anytime I disagree with reality of what is happening, I'm playing God. Very simple. The details of it could look different, right? So quit playing God, Ali. Man, I'm in sales 100%, right? 100% sales. The last 4 months has been slow. I'm serious. I'm like telling the truth, man. I'm barely making ends meet. Barely making ends meet. When I get into the fear position, oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm playing God. Ali, quit playing God. You don't have a good track record of running a life. God does. It doesn't work. Okay. Now, I got to stay in this program with you guys, right? A bunch of things to do to stay present to that fact, obviously, right? This just can't be knowledge here. This got to connect, my head's got to connect to my heart. Quit playing God, it didn't work, okay? Ready? This is such an important paragraph, by the way. We're going to try to unpack this paragraph a little bit. Next, we decided that hereafter, in this drama of life, excuse me, if you grab the yellow highlighter now, important, from God, God was going to be our director. He's the principal. We are his agents. He's the father, and we are his children. Okay, just right there. Okay, let's go through this. This paragraph, by the way, is called the third step decision. I didn't know until someone told me. The third step prayer follows. It's an affirmation of the third step decision. I take the third step prayer after I agree to the third step decision. This paragraph is called the third step decision. We'll take notes on it, okay? So it says, this is the how and why. First of all, we had to quit playing God. Why? Because it didn't work, not because I'm a bad person. All right, okay. Next, we decided decided that hereafter, in this drama of life, God was going to be our director, principal, father. If you grab the pen, please, we've highlighted this. Please circle the word director, circle the word principal, which is to the right of director in the same sentence. The sentence below, circle the word father, please. Let's talk about these relationships. The sacred book has now presented me with three relationships, three ways that I can look at this relationship with this divine power, with the God of my, some people say, misunderstanding, right? With the God that I don't understand, right? Director, principal, father, okay? So it didn't work. I got to quit playing God. How do I quit playing him? Well, I stop. I let him be the director. And many people know these analogies, right? Just quickly. So the director is the boss on a movie set. That's the director. Okay? I am to be the actor. However, we read earlier last week that my problem is that I am the actor who wants to be the director, ends up being the producer of confusion in everybody's life. So as a director, I have one job. I memorize lines. I try to bring forth and create a spirit of a believable character. That's it. But what I want to do is I want to give you guys your lines and not write them down for you, but not mail them to you. I want to tell you what to do. I want to tell the director what to do. I want to tell everybody what to do. If only the world would behave. Everyone would be doing great, including me. The director. right? So they're asking, okay, Ali, what are you ready to make this decision that from now on, not a perfect decision, like in your heart, are you ready to stop being a director in your life, in other people's lives? Just be the actor. Let God be the director. Let him give you things to do. Let him direct you to go here, go there, talk to this person. Don't take this job. Don't go to that interview. Don't lend this newcomer $30. Okay, buy this one lunch. That's okay with this one. Let God be the director. Are you ready to do that? Okay. He's the principal. We are his agents. Okay. Another relationship with God that I got to end. I got to look at God as a director, me as the actor, God as the principal, me as the agent. Okay. So if somebody is in real estate, right, they have a real estate agent, right? And I want to sell my house. I get a real estate agent and I am the principal. As the principal, I get to empower my agent to act on my behalf. You get to negotiate deals. You get to bring them back to me. You get to, you get to act on my behalf. So God is the principal. He will give me things to do and he will empower me to do things for him. The things that have happened in my life, I'm speaking about myself because I'm speaking, but everybody can say the same thing in their own way, right? The things that happen in my life, I don't have the power to do. I just drink and destroy people's lives. And I commit suicide. I attempt suicide. I don't have the power to do those things, I have been empowered. I get empowered. This thing right here is my least favorite thing to do. I'm nervous. I never want to do workshops. I've never done workshops. I don't have the power to do, right? I've been empowered. So God is the principal. I'm the agent. I'm going to act on his behalf. Here's another thing on that one, little tidbit on that one. By the way, just a quick thing on my head. So any extra notes that anybody may be moved to take, I would suggest take it on a separate notebook. Don't make this big book any more busier than it is, okay? Because we're going to pass this on to a newcomer, right? You want to make sure it's as simple as it is for them. And then any extra notes, you guys can take it and just, just don't make this any messier. So, see, and I wouldn't put these notes here for a newcomer because it's not an intellectual thing. It's a conversation I have with them. Let it wash over them. The Spirit will pick up what the Spirit needs to pick up. The real growth comes in the action process of the inventory writing and the amends making and prayer meditation and attempt to pass it on to someone else. That's where the growth comes, right? Not from the talking to each other. The talking just inspires some action, hopefully. So principal agent. So here's another thing. If let's say I'm an agent, okay? Let's say I don't know sportsman, but everyone knows Michael Jordan, right? Let's say he retired apparently, right? So Michael Jordan used to be a very famous basketball player, right? Let's say I'm his agent. He was the principal. He empowers me to sign contract, get endorsement deals on his behalf, right? Now imagine. He's empowering me to do his work, right? Now imagine, everybody knows I'm the agent of Michael Jordan and I'm going around town hitting on people's wives, punching people out, stealing things, swearing in an AA meeting, yelling at the top of my lung because I'm pissed off because they want to spend $5 extra on cookies. When I say this, I'm talking about me too, right? You guys know that, right? I'm talking about us as a collective, right? I love when all us says, I'm just another bozo on the bus. Just another bozo. Right? Right? So if I'm supposed to represent the principal, if I continue to do this, what's going to happen with my relationship with Michael Jordan as a principal and agent? At some point in time, man, it's going to get severed. I'm not going to be empowered anymore. So as an agent, I got to try my best to represent this power. I get empowered to do his work. I got to represent. And I'm not talking about perfection. None of us are. No one. Remember I said none of us can maintain anything like perfect. But then I got to try. Okay, so far we talked about director, actor, principal, agent. Here's the father, okay? We are his agents. He's the father and we're his children. There's a reason I'm spending a bit of time on this. Usually we go more for this. I'm going to ask you to set aside, please, any in the spirit of the set-aside prayer, in the spirit of being filled with something new, in the spirit of being better messengers, I'm going to ask you to set aside any prejudice you may have against any religious undertone of the word Father. I'm not a Christian. Father. He's the Father, or if you had a problem with your own father. He's the Father, we are his children, okay? This is so powerful for me, like threefold, okay? So if I'm going to look at this entity, which I don't understand, I don't have to, right? I want to experience. If I'm going to look at God, this higher power, as the Father, and I'm his child, right? So here's the first thing. My son Darius and my son Maximus, it still trips me out. I have two of them now. Okay. Who is my son more to be like, me or my friend Don and Pembroke? Who's my son more to be like? Like me. He's my makeup. He's my DNA, right? So if I'm his child, metaphorically speaking, I'm not God, but I'm a makeup of God. I'm not the ocean, but I'm a wave in the ocean. That's why the big book says deep down in every man, woman, and child is a fundamental idea. It's me. I'm made up of this power, man. Literally, scientists, I don't know, I'm going here, it doesn't matter, but scientists have proven, physicists have proven that every single cell in my body, like all the atoms, the carbon and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen atoms, they are from stars that have died billions of years ago. They're the same atoms. Nothing new has been created. Right? So I'm a part of this power. First of all, I want to start to open. Can I try it on? That if he's the Father, I'm in his makeup? Second thing, if my son Darius were to ask me, think about your own kids now. Okay, those that have kids, think about your own kids. By the way, before I had a child, I had no idea. It was only intellectual. And then when I had one, I was like, oh my God. Okay? So if one of my sons asked me, okay, Daddy, I really need this. Like he needed it. He just needed it, whatever it was. Do you know I would bite the concrete to get him what he wanted? Do you know I would do that? Do you know I would dig ditches 24 hours a day, 10 days a week? Do you know I would do that? Do you know if one of my sons, somehow it became very apparent that for him to get what he wants, I have to jump off a bridge head first? Do you know there would be no question? Do you know that? Now, if it was for my wife, I'd have to think about it, but for my sons, for sure. They're probably a lot of makeup. You know what I mean? So if God's a father and I'm his child, just like I would do for my child, no matter what he needed, whatever to the ends of earth, same thing. So I got to pray and ask. I ask him what I need. I stay close to him. I develop a relationship with him. Okay, that's a second layer for me, right? First layer, I'm part of his makeup. I am him, right? I am not him, but I'm part of him. Second layer, he's the father. Whatever I need, he's there, just like I am for my son, and right? The third layer is, notice the big book says, we are his children. We. That means I am no closer to this power than my friend Michelle in Vancouver. No closer than Tuesday. No closer. We. That means I don't have a private line to God that you don't. That means there's to be no middle person between me and God. That means God has no grandkids. We are his children. So if we are his children, that means when I am separated from you, I'm separated from him. That means all of you are my spiritual brothers and sisters, and I truly believe that. That means when a sponsee calls, that's God calling. That means when a new person calls, or whoever calls, Ali, I need something, that's God calling. We are his children. That is huge. That third step decision is not to be taken lightly. That is huge, you know? So now, we are his children. After children, okay, Perfect. So to the left of this paragraph, I would like you to please put a bracket from the beginning of the paragraph where it says this is the how and why of it, all the way to the line where it says he's the father, we're his children. So just put a bracket to the left of it. That means let's put a bracket around that, okay? The left of the paragraph. And then from that bracket, please put an arrow on the line to the bottom margin. We're gonna ask a question now. Okay, so the question is this, the bottom margin question, and you're gonna answer it if you're ready. Am I ready to make this third step decision? Question mark. Am I ready to take this? Or make this, or take this, make this decision, take this. Am I ready to make this third step decision? That's it. Am I ready to make this third step decision? Am I ready to make this third step decision? What's the decision? I'm gonna try moving, not do it perfectly. I'm just gonna try, okay? I'm gonna try to not play God so much in life, right? By allowing him to be the director, I'll be the actor, him to be the principal, I'll be the agent, him to be the father, and I'll be the child. I'm gonna try. Am I ready to make this third step decision? Question mark, put a big yes if you are, okay? Now let's grab the pink and let's move forward, all right. Excuse me. So don't highlight anything yet. We're back in the big book. Most good ideas are simple. And please grab the pink highlighter, which for us signifies prayers and promises. This concept in pink, this concept was the keystone of a new and triumphant arc through which we pass to freedom. We are going to pass to freedom, my friends. Like for those friends like myself who are committed to actually taking these steps on this workshop as they go along, that means this promise, as much as you experience it already, on a deeper level available, a deeper freedom. Okay. Continue in pink, promise. When we sincerely took such a position, sincerely, like honestly, what position? Quit playing God, principal, director, father, right? That position. Sincerely took such a position, continue in pink, all sorts of remarkable things followed. Look at that. We had a new employer. Being all powerful, he provided what we needed. Please end your pink at the word needed. That's the last word to highlight in pink, needed. Okay, promises, moving forward from now on. Now grab the pen. In the page 63, second line from the top, very right of the sentence, for me, it's the last word, the employer. Would you please circle employer as well? That's another relationship with God. That's another way I'm supposed to, they're asking me to consider, look at this power. He's the director, he's the principal, he's the father, here's the employer. Is anybody having financial troubles right now, like me? Your boss is not the employer, he's the employer. We're going to look at it that way. He's the employer. What do you think, Ali? God's going to run out of abundance? Is that what's going to happen? He's the employer. Okay, let's see what it says. And see, I'm talking like, this is how I've been living. I have such conviction in this way of life because the results are there. Okay, now, if you grab the yellow now, okay, we want to make it stand out from the pink. Now it's important, okay? There's a condition. Is a condition now. If we kept close to him and performed his work well, that's in yellow. If we kept close to him and performed his work well, that's in yellow. Okay, I hope everybody's following. If we kept close to him and performed his work well. Perfect. If you grab a pen from the yellow where it says his work well, okay, put a little arrow to the right margin, write 12 steps. In case we're confused, what is his work? I don't know what to do. Well, it's in the 12 steps. More specifically, it's the 12th step, actually. His work is the 12th step. It's the 12th step. But for now, for the new person that we're taking through, 12 steps. What do you mean his work? Don't worry. It is Moore's reveal. 12 steps. in the steps that we're doing. Just keep going. Okay, 12 steps. So I'm going to read from the top. When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of all promises, remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Being all powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close and performed his work well. Grab the pink again. The rest of this paragraph, it's all promises. Okay, all in pink, all promises. As you're hearing this, please allow the words to wash over your spirit and be present to the fact that what the Spirit is talking about is from now forward on a deeper level. Okay? Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or hereafter. We were reborn. All promises. These are some powerful promises. If I continue in the rest of the steps. Reborn. I can't count the number of times in recovery, in the middle of the circle and triangle. It has become so dark that I think I'm dying, that I think this darkness is the darkness of the tomb. And what this power shows me, and you show me, is that it's the darkness of the womb. You're being reborn. Every single time. My faith is the way it is because of the darkness. And when I say that, I don't mean, I'm always like wary. I don't want ever anyone to think that. So I don't mean the way it is better than anyone else here. I mean what it was like before for me. Because I've been reborn. I continue to become reborn because of this process. Why else would close to 300 people give up their time on a Saturday? For what? Reborn. Okay. If you grab the yellow highlighter, check it out now. We were now at step 3. Highlight that in yellow. Hey, did you see how much we had to go through just to get to step 3? Right? Do you see how much more powerful it would be? For those friends that haven't experienced it, that is, right? How much more powerful if we go through what the big book says, the requirements and the unpacking and the humbling of the spirit and the revelations before I sit down for the 3rd step prayer. Then to just, oh, you're an AA? You walked in AA, so you must be an alcoholic. Can you come up with the power? Okay. Don't worry about the God thing so much. Let's do the 3rd step prayer. Nothing wrong with that. I know please forgive me. I'm just being silly, right? But because I used to do it, right? But do you see how much more powerful this is? All this stuff just to get to the 3rd step. And it makes sense because it's not like, literally, it's such a, you know how they say sometimes don't make any big decisions in your first year? This is the biggest decision anyone could ever make. And I'm making it in the first few weeks. To hand over my life and everything that I know, that I believe in, that I've been doing to something I cannot see, feel. What are you talking about? We were now at step 3. That's in yellow. We're now at step 3. Okay. So we're going to go through this 3rd step prayer. Then what we're going to do is, I really enjoy Frank's voice. My friend Frank, I just really enjoy it. So I'm going to make a decision for the group. Frank's going to come when I ask him. Frank, please, is going to come up on the mic. Everyone else is going to be muted. Frank is going to do the 3rd step prayer, and we're all going to say it as well, but muted, so it doesn't, that doesn't do much for everybody, right? What I am doing, I'm not telling you to do this. As Frank is doing the 3rd step prayer, I'm getting on my knees here, and I'm doing the 3rd step prayer. Okay, when Frank finishes the 3rd step prayer, I'm going to get back on my seat. I'm going to sit here in quiet for a few seconds, and I'm going to encourage everyone else to do so. And then we'll start again. Okay, ready? Okay. Frank, you were just voluntold, my friend. Thank you.
And sometimes we just take direction.
You're the best.
Right?
Thank you, brother. Okay, ready? So 3rd step prayer. Okay. So many of us, they're not highlighting anything, okay, just please. Many of us, we're going to unpack this a little bit. I do that with a newcomer a little bit. Maybe Maybe with not so much animation. I don't know what happens in a group sometimes it comes, right? But many of us said to our maker as we understood him, okay? Grab the pink highlighter. It's a prayer now. Pink highlighter. God, I offer myself to thee. We're going to come back to this. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Highlight only the prayer in pink, please. Okay. Before we unpack the prayer and then take the prayer, if you would please, after you highlight the prayer in pink, please turn the book counterclockwise 90 degrees so the right margin is now facing you. The right margin is facing you. Please, the span of that paragraph. Use the span of that paragraph. You may have to do like 2 or 3 lines, okay? On the right margin, right long ways, only the span of that third step paragraph. At the very top, please start third step prayer. Write that third step prayer. This all for the new person, right? Because I want to make sure they're equipped and more ready to take someone to the steps when God sees fit, right? Third step prayer, okay? And then in brackets, don't go past the span of that prayer, please, okay? So we're gonna have to write something later on, okay? In brackets, you're gonna write, you want to spotlight me, please? Thank you. You guys see this? See the span of the prayer? Okay, don't worry about this here, okay? Third step prayer. And then in brackets, I have an affirmation of the third step decision. Third step prayer, an affirmation of the third step decision. Thank you for highlighting me. Third step prayer, an affirmation of the third step decision. I make the third step decision. The third step prayer that I pray every single morning, sometimes at night, sometimes throughout the day, I am affirming this decision. I'm going to quit playing God. I'm going to be the actor. I'm going to be the agent. I'm going to be the child. I'm going to be the employee. Right? Third step prayer. Okay, ready? Let's talk about the third step prayer. By the way, later on it will say, it says this 3 times, I think, in this big book, the words don't even matter. I suggest all the men that I help to please try to memorize this. Memorize this. Down the road, if you want to change the words, but memorize this. Discipline is a horse that I ride on. In order for me to build the practice, I have to have some discipline and some direction. And then later on, the Spirit moves me to do whatever I need to do. Okay. So, however, I sometimes change the word thee and thou for you and yours. Okay. Just it makes some more palatable for someone who's new. Okay, but it doesn't matter. God, I offer myself to you, to thee, to you, to build with me and to do with me as you will. Okay. So, Mr. Newcomer, what does that mean to you? Okay, can I tell you what it means to me? What it means to me is this: God, higher power, I give everything about me to you. You build with me and you do with me whatever you want. On the ground, that means this: where I work, who I work for, whether I live in a house I live now or in a park bench or in a shelter. Whether I work in the soup kitchen, whether I'm sober or not, whether I sponsor 10 men or 1, none of my business. I give it to you. I give it to you. Because I just saw in 3 pages of my life that when I try to do it, I fail. I'm tired of me. I give it to you. Whatever happens in my life, it's yours. You build with me. You do with me whatever you want. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do your will. Notice what it says. Relieve me of the bondage of self. Every time I hear bondage of self, like I think in pictures, I get an image of, the Egyptian mummies of thousands of years ago, like the gauze around them, like bondage, you can't break. It's like, relieve me of this bondage of self so I can breathe, right? Bondage of self. 99.999999999% me. What I think about life. My reaction to life. Bondage of self. Why? So I can jump for joy be happy in my marriage all the time, make millions of dollars, and get us to speak everywhere and have a bunch of sponsors. No, so I can better do your will. That's all I want to do. I just want to do your will, God. That's it. I want to be the agent there. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of your power, of your love, of your way of life. So take away my difficulties, whatever I perceive my difficulties to be, most of them within myself anyways. It only seems like they're outside, but they're really not. Take away their difficulties. So as I am victorious over them, God, I'm going to be helping your kids. I made a promise to you. I'm going to make my life about helping your kids. Alcoholics and non-alcoholics. Practice principles in my affairs means non-alcoholics. So as I'm helping your kids, as I'm helping your other people, they're going to see your light shine through the cracks. They're going to learn about what you do in my life and your power and your love and your way of life. I'm going to become a witness. I'm going to become a testimony of you, of what you do. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that what we all have been in our own ways? Testimonies of this power. May I do your will always. That's a powerful prayer. That's a deep prayer. That is not a prayer to be taken lightly or pushed or coerced. Somebody has to want to do this prayer. The desire has to come from within. There's so many outs in this book. So many outs. You got to be tired of you to take this on, man. And also excited and present a little bit to the potential of, wow, what could possibly be? So how does someone like me get excited to the present to the potential? Because someone like Jane, like Dawn, like Michelle, like so many others here were the light for me. Oh, you mean that's possible? And then look what it says right after. No more highlighting. Look what it says. Look what it says after. We thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready. Just make sure you're ready. Make sure you want to do this. I'm not going to push you on this, right? That we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to him, right? Sometimes I would get new people that would get stuck. What do you mean abandon utterly to him? Just break it down. Very simple. It's all good, brother. I'll tell you what that means, okay? If you're ready and willing to take this step with me, this is what it means. Get ready together. So if you would please, if you circle abandon ourselves utterly to him, please circle that with pen. Okay, perfect. And then if you would, from that circle, put a line to the right margin. So we have a little space in the right margin. We should have, if not, put it in your left margin. Find the space there, right? So circle abandon ourselves utterly to him. And you're going to write small, write 2-3 lines, maybe short lines. Please write this. This means, comma, this means, do the rest of the steps like my life depends on it. Do the rest of the steps like my life depends on it. This means do the rest of the steps like my life depends on it. This means do the rest of the stuff, right? What does that mean? Don't even worry about it. All that means, can you try this on? Work the rest of these steps, the rest of this process like your life depends on it. Can you abandon yourself to that? No, I can't. God bless you. Shake your hand. We can't work together anymore at this point in time, but let's keep going to meetings. Many outs in this book. Okay, so now I hope that was okay. Okay, so by the way, just side notes, I'm just sharing side notes with you. 99% of the time we're talking about this, we're taking the third step prayer. Once in a while, if the person is hemming and hawing and I give them that do the rest of the steps and they're still hemming and hawing at this stage, once in a while, what I do say is that, well, look, it says here, we thought well before taking the step, take a couple of days. Take a couple of days, sit with it. And if you want to continue, come. If not, that's okay. I'm your brother on the path forever, man, in this life. You need me, I'm here. Just not in this capacity. All right, okay, perfect. So now, Frank, if you don't mind, brother, would you come on the mic? I'm gonna get on my knees, third step prayer, then we're gonna sit back on our seats and just sit quiet for a few short seconds and then we'll start again.
God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help, of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Thank you, everybody, for taking this beautiful step together with us. All right. Whether you are present to it or not, my experience has been, it has begun. It's begun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be revealing. And it's going to be deep. And I'm not so arrogant to say what I know it's going to look like for anybody. But from my experience, it has begun. Now, I've taken the third step prayer. And sometimes it's felt like this. It felt like I'm playing chess. It's felt like something just took this chessboard and just flipped it up. And it landed pieces everywhere. My life, it looked like that. Man, but my faith got stronger. Man, did I become conscious of his presence in my life. And for those friends that, for whatever reason, are not ready, that's okay too. You don't have to. God doesn't make too hard terms. You can continue to stay on this path with us and take the notes, and for the newcomer that you're going to pass it on to, no worries, all good. But for those that are ready, it has begun. All right, by the way, I'm making that statement in the most humble way. So I swear to God, it's just like in the most humble and grateful way, you know? All right. Okay, let's go back into we found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. So sometimes we do that. We just did that together, right? Took it together. But it's better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional. See, just optional, right? But I do memorize this prayer. So long as we express the idea, voicing it without reservation. Highlighting yellow now. This was only a beginning. It's just the beginning. All this stuff, all the considerations, see myself, am I an alcoholic or not? And the setting aside prejudices of a higher power, coming up with my own conception, be willing to believe that maybe there is one, and taking the third step prayer. Just the beginning. We just started. It has begun. Though if honestly and humbly made an effect, sometimes a very great one was felt at once. So whether our friends here, whether you guys felt a great effect from this group prayer, surrender, whether you felt a very little effect or whether you felt nothing, that's okay. Let's keep reading and see what it says. Because none of that is an obstacle to a powerful spiritual experience. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so if you grab in a yellow highlighter, important please. Next, we launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which was a personal house cleaning. Just that's in yellow, please. If you grab the pen, please, circle the word launched. We launched, circled vigorous action. Circle launch, circle vigorous action. Okay, so we launch. What does that mean? Like a rocket launches. What does that mean? That means the way, the pace that the Spirit is directing me through this big book is not, here's an inventory, see you in 2 years. I launch, right? But I also don't want to be so rigid either, right? It's a spirit of an urgency. It's a spirit of that. I launch, vigorous action. The first step is a house cleaning, okay? Please turn the page. Which many of us had never attempted. That's not in yellow. Though our decision, circle the word decision. Please put a line up to the top margin. Please write third step. In case you get confused, the decision is a third step decision and my third step prayer. The decision we talked about so much, right? Father, director, employer, all that kind of stuff, right? Though our decision, the third step decision, was a vital and crucial, circle the word vital, please. Circle the word crucial, please. Vital, I needed to live, like my pulse. Crucial, extremely important decision that is. Okay, though that's a vital and crucial step, if you grab the yellow highlighter now, important. It could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Important. Even if I felt like I was lifted in the air and I felt the grace of a loving power come through me when I take that third step prayer together with the sponsor on knees on the ground or whatever, however we do it, even if that happens, it's not gonna last. You got work to do, Ali. Followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things which had been blocking us. From the word us, there's a period. Please put a line to the either right margin or from us, put a line and arrow to the top margin. Maybe top margin is better. Blocking us. Please write from power. From power. The things blocking me from powers inside of me. I got to face and be rid of them. From power. Okay. Highlighting yellow, continue highlighting yellow, important. Our liquor was but a symptom. We had to get down to causes and conditions. All that is in yellow. All that's important to just stand out. Our liquor is but a symptom. I saw it. I got to get to the cause and conditions. Okay. So now we said the beginning of the highlight was it could have this decision of the third step prayer and decision could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of things in ourselves which had been blocking us. So from the word strenuous, right, like from the yellow highlight, right, that paragraph, put a little line and arrow to the left margin. From that paragraph where you highlighted the yellow, little arrow to the left margin, and begin writing only the span of this paragraph, long ways. So turn the book so the left margin is facing you. Please begin writing from only the span of that paragraph. To the top of the page is okay, but don't go to the left of that, please. Please write, this is why I write inventory. This is why I write inventory. There's no other reason for it. I mean, there are other benefits maybe, But this is why I write inventory on this path, because I've been blocked from power. This is how I get connected to power. This is why I write inventory. This is why I write inventory on the left margin. I don't write inventory to find out more about myself. If that was the case, I would only need to write inventory one time or go to a good psychiatrist and therapist. And after a few years, I would learn a lot about myself. Read a lot of self-help books. I'm not knocking them. They're good. They serve a purpose. But that's not why I write inventory. I write inventory why? Strenuous effort to be and rid of the things in ourselves, in myself, in Ali, which has been blocking me from power, because liquor is only a symptom. I got to get to the cause and conditions. I want to have relationship with that which has been giving me grace all this time, because there's a universal difference in experience when I live under grace than when I have a relationship with that which has been giving me grace. And I got to write inventory. There's no other way. In this program, please forgive me. I'm sure there's other ways out there. In this program, I don't know another way. I don't know another way. Okay. Page 64. We're going to continue the next paragraph. Therefore, we started upon, grab the yellow highlighter now, only now, a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business, continue in yellow, a business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. That's all in yellow. Okay. In yellow, a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. And please circle step 4 in that second line. Circle step 4, please. Okay. Notice what it says. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Okay. So a few years ago, my sister and I sort of went into business together. That was a whole ordeal. Where did I ever grow from that? But that's another story. There's no longer, the business still going. We're no longer the owners. That business, we sold nuts, organic dried fruits and stuff like that. So we learned about taking inventory. Like like it says here, a business which takes no, right? So we had to, originally when we opened up the store, we had to take stock of what we need, get one big inventory. And then on a daily basis, I had to go to the containers because the pistachios and everything were in different containers, right? Different nuts. Each container, see what's low, what's perhaps gone bad, change it or replace it. I had to take an inventory. On a weekly basis, I had to take an inventory, what we need to order for the next week. Every 6 months, I had to take an inventory, what's in the back storage, what we need, what's gone. I had to take an inventory. If we didn't take a regular inventory, we would have gone broke. By the same way, I got to take regular inventories. This is my experience I'm sharing with you. What the big book says, how I read it, okay? So which means this, if I wrote one written inventory when I came in many years ago, and that's all I did in terms of written inventory, I'm not saying people are going to drink, they're not going to live great lives, and that's just pretend, no, I'm not doing that, right? What I'm saying is that there's a level of freedom and joy and beauty and grace available that I cannot access if I'm not taking regular inventories. And I'm not talking about everyday writing random. We'll talk about all that later, right? But let's just, okay. So a business that doesn't take it, because later on in step 10, they introduced me to a spot check inventory, right? But I never let go of a written inventory when I needed many inventories throughout, many ones throughout the year. I never let go of that. Right? So a business that doesn't take a regular inventory usually goes broke. So from that yellow highlight, if you put it from regular inventory, put an arrow line to the left margin, and please write using the span of this paragraph and the paragraph below it, you can write this, please. This will be the first of a lifetime of step 4s. Mr. Newcomer, don't worry about getting it perfect. You're not going to. It's okay. No one does. This will be a first of a lifetime of step 4s. Because a business that doesn't take a regular inventory usually goes broke. And what does it look like with us when we go broke? Sober suicide. Sober destruction of marriages. And eventually drink. Sober, feeling like a fraud in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Afraid to ask for help. Okay, let's go back to the paragraph now. All right. Okay. taking a commercial, it's beautiful. Bill Wilson first, it's so beautiful here. He takes something, like he parallels a commercial inventory, which almost like the spirit invoked in him. He knew, like he was inspired to know that if he talks about a commercial inventory, I'm not going to be so emotionally invested. I'll be more open to what he's talking about. And then he brings it to a personal inventory, right? He goes, taking a commercial inventory is a fact finding. Please circle fact finding. And a fact-facing process. Please circle fact-facing process. Fact-finding circle, fact-facing process circle. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One objective is to disclose damaged or unsellable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business to be successful, he cannot fool himself about the values. So when we had the store, if by chance, for whatever reason, we made a mistake and some almonds had gone bad, let's say, and a customer came and said to me, Ali, these almonds have gone bad. What I'm not going to do is emotionally be so invested in those almonds and argue with the customer about it. What are you talking about? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go broke. My apologies. I didn't realize that. Won't happen again. Sorry about that. Order some new almonds. Throw this one out. Get a new one. But I don't do that so much, do I, when it comes to things that are broken inside of me that are revealed, do I? I fight to the death about my ideas, what I think things should be, don't I? See how beautiful this book is written, inspired? Bill's like, here's a commercial one. You won't have emotional attachment to it, but you ready? You good with this? Yeah, I do. It makes sense. Yeah, the business will go broke. Yeah. Okay, now come on in. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. Circle the word honestly. See that word again? Honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Being convinced that self, we were already convinced, that it manifested in various ways. We already convinced of that in the third step pages that we did together, right? Was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. Highlighting yellow now, please. Resentment is the #1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. All the way to there, all yellow. He finally hits us with the real answer right there. Finally hits me. I think this is the first time, maybe I'm wrong, for the big book technicians can correct me later on. I think this is the first time he actually says spiritually sick. We've been spiritually sick, okay? All that in yellow, super important, right? Please circle the first line in yellow that we did. Please circle the following, one circle. Resentment is the #1 offender. Circle that, please. Circle that, please. It's so important. We want to make it stand out even more than the highlight itself. Okay? #1 offender. From it stem all forms of spiritual illnesses. This means this is the mother of spiritual illness. It just, from it grow all kinds of spiritual illnesses from resentment. I heard someone long ago in a meeting say, I don't sort of agree with that. I think maybe loneliness is the #1 offender for me as an alcoholic. This person has had a bit of time. And I thought about it, I prayed about it. I'm like, you know what? He's right. Loneliness is bad. But that loneliness, why is it caused? That loneliness is not like I don't have anyone to be with. I could be in a marriage and feel lonely. I could be with a bunch of friends at a party and feel like lonely. That's a spiritual loneliness. Where does it come from? From the fact that I see myself separate from others. Why? Because of resentment. Something inside of me that feels separate from you. Resentment is the #1 offender. From it stem all forms of spiritual illness. Okay? Please circle now, spiritually sick. Please circle spiritually sick. The last thing we highlighted in that yellow. #1 offender, #1 offender. God is in every man, woman, and child is a fundamental idea of God. Anytime I'm separate from his children, I will be separate from him. And that doesn't mean I got to walk on water and just feel the love for everybody. That's not what we're talking about, man. I'm on a path of progress, but I got to be aware of some truth. If you grab the pink, please. Think is promise, okay? It's a promise now. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. It's not the other way around. My entire life, I try to do it the other way around. To this day, right now, as I promise you, as I will put pen to paper this week, for me, exact same truth. When the spiritual malady is overcome, I will straighten out mentally and physically, not the other way around. That's in pink. Okay, no more highlighting. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed, circle people, circle institutions, circle principles. Okay, from that line, whereas you circled people, institutions, principles, from that line, from people, let's say, put a line to the left margin and just write call one, short form for column one. That's it right there. People, institutions, principles. That's our column one. That's our column one. Okay, we'll talk about that one. Okay, so for like everybody, I'm preaching to the choir, everybody knows, right? For the new person, I would explain a little bit more, right? So people that what's a resentment? Resentment, just for our working definition, doesn't have to be such a correct Webster's exact definition. What it means is that when I think about a person, institution or principle, or when I see them, or when I think they're in my thoughts, there's a negative feeling that's inside of me. It's re-feeling of a negative feeling that's inside of me. That's it. Very simple. Now, I want to share with you friends here that spiritual pride, when I'm a few years in and sponsoring a bunch of people and perhaps speaking here and there, spiritual pride would tell me that's not a resentment. You don't have a resentment. That's just, come on, you're just irritated, forget it. Okay, so resentment could be a range from rage to every time this person comes in my head, I feel irritated. Okay? So for our purposes of the seekers that are at step 12, and perhaps you've done inventories before, if you're willing to take this step on this level with us together to actually write inventories. So we're looking at the pebbles in the shoe, not the boulders anymore. God's removed some boulders from me. I'm looking at the pebbles in the shoe. That I think that's not a resentment, spiritual pride would tell me, oh, you're too spiritually fit to have that resentment. No, that's a resentment. You think about them every time you're irritated, that's a resentment. Because those pebbles in the shoe left unchecked after 20 miles, man, boy, I'm gonna fall down and my leg's gonna hurt. Sometimes the most powerful experiences I've had from writing a set of inventories and reading and taking to a 6 and 7 has been from 3 names on the list that I thought had nothing. But that's just for us. For the newcomer, it could be a range from irritation to rage, right? Institutions are like, to the newcomer, like schools and the government and the police force and the medical pharma community, hospital, institutions. People are easy. And principles, usually when people are new, it's difficult to come up with principles, and that's okay, no problem. Principles, I mean, you could look it up in the dictionary, you guys already know, but something maybe to me is like maybe like ideals that people try to live by. Like a principle is, men don't show emotions. I don't know if you have a resentment against that. Men don't cry. A man is supposed to provide for his family. But maybe we're in AA, we have a resentment, agitation against a principle in AA. Needy makers make it. Maybe that's I don't know, right? Any principle that we, a way of life, a principle in life. I hope that comes across, but you can look it up. Okay. We listed people, institutions, principles with whom we are angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. Circle the word why. Put a line to the left column. Right below call 2, which is short form for column 1, below it, write column 2, just call 2, COL period 2, short form, call 2. That's it, column 2 is why. Why we were angry. If I could bring your attention quickly to page 65, look at the example they give us, okay? I am resentful at Mr. Brown. Look at column 2, the cause. So the title of column 2 could be why or the cause, right? By the way, I've made up a sheet long time ago. It's straight by the big book. It's not one of those internet sheets that change it. It's straight by the big book. Just made a sheet, right? So Everly, I'm going to put it up here. If you would, Kristen, please put it in the chat so people can copy it and save it. And Everly, following this meeting in the next day or so, she's going to email that sheet to everybody. You could either use a brand new 8.5 by 11 notebook to just draw your own columns, or you could print off those sheets, whatever you want to do, just if it's simpler for people, okay? So now, if you look at page 65, it says we were using as definite as this example. I'm resentful at Mr. Brown, okay? The cause or why, his attention to my wife, told my wife of my mistress, Brown may get my job at the office. Do you see how succinct, short, to the point, specific, right? Not a long story. I try to really explain that to the new person, right? I don't want to hear not a life story, right? Because anytime I'm explaining something a lot, that's the ego justifying and defending. I don't want that, okay? Very specific as I can, as to the point as I can. He stole from me. He yelled at me. He made fun of me. He's mean because he yelled at me in front of people. He borrows money, he doesn't pay me back, he owes me $10,000. Well, whatever, right? Specific, just like that. We're gonna follow the big book, what it says, as closely as we can, okay? So second column is to the point succinct, okay? And let me show you here, please. No. Before I show you, let's do the third column because we're gonna have an assignment together, okay? So let's come back to the page 64, okay? Why we were angry. In most cases, it was found that please grab the pen. We're going to circle certain words, and then we're going to come back and highlight those words in yellow. Okay, please stay with me on this one. Circle self-esteem. Circle pocketbooks on the next line. To the right of pocketbook, please circle ambitions. To the right of that, please circle personal relationships. Okay, come back, grab the yellow highlighter. Highlight in yellow self-esteem, you circled it. Highlight in yellow pocketbooks, you circled it. Highlight in yellow ambitions, you circled it. Highlight in yellow personal relationships, you circled it, okay? After you finish highlighting, grab your pen. We're gonna write very small mini definitions right in the big book. So it's all there for us, okay? So from pocketbook, you circled it. Put a little arrow to the corner, bottom corner margin. Small, please write finances. Finances, that's it. Any material things. So if I get into an accident, that'll affect my finances because I have to pay for the car or the insurance will go up. That's pocketbook, right? Finances. Okay. From ambition, please so you should have lots of room on the bottom margin to the left of ambition, right? Put a little arrow and a little line. Please write in small I'm going to read the whole thing and then read slowly again, just so you see how much space to give. What I want from the person/situation. Ambition. What I want from the person/situation. Okay, so in the third column, the second column I wrote, he did this, this, and this, and this. Now in the third column, what's affected? What's affected in me? 7 areas of self affected. We're looking at some of them. Was pocketbook affected? Well, yeah, he caused me to have an accident. So my pocketbook was affected, right? Ambition is what I want from the person/situation. Okay. Oh, another example. My boss yelled at me in front of people. What I want from the person/situation, I want him to apologize to me. Ambition is what I want. It doesn't have to be business success. It can be, what do I want? What did I want from that person, from that situation that I didn't get? And that caused me to be sore. Self is affected, right? Self-esteem. From self-esteem, please bring sort of a line and an arrow to the bottom margin there. We have lots of room because personal relationships, we're not going to write anything about. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? No definitions needed for that one. Self-esteem, please write how I see/feel about myself. How I see/feel about myself. Okay, perfect. So my boss yelled at me in front of people. I feel like I'm not good enough. I got embarrassed. Right, just a couple of words. Personal relationships, yeah, in that example, sure. With him, it's strained. With other employees as well, because I feel less than, I feel ashamed. What do they think about me? Yeah, my personal relationships are negatively for sure. These are just some working definitions, right? So, and then so if we go on, it says personal relationships, including sex, were highlighting yellow the word hurt, and then highlighting yellow the word threatened. So these areas of self are hurt and they're threatened. If these areas of self were not hurt or threatened, I wouldn't have a resentment. The third column is such a powerful way for me to see how self is involved. Areas of self are hurt or threatened, okay? So highlight hurt, highlight threatened. It says, so we were sore, we were burnt up. We were sore, we were burnt up. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. My injuries are the third column, right? Was it our self-esteem? Notice the word self-esteem is just repeated in that previous paragraph that we highlighted, right? Our security, the word security is new. It wasn't repeated in the previous one. Please circle security, highlighted in yellow. Okay. Okay. From the word security, please put a line to the top margin, Okay, we're going to define security in this way. And please, this is not the only way to define it, because the big books just leave some leeway. Some people define security differently. That's okay. This is the way we're going to do it. So please write what my ego needs emotionally, comma, what my ego needs emotionally, comma, to be okay. What my ego needs emotionally to be okay. Okay. So ambition was what I want from the situation, what my ego needs emotionally to be okay. In the case of my boss yelling at me in front of people, respect, acknowledgement. That's what my ego needs. Notice the word needs, like I needed like oxygen. I don't get it. I'm like, I'm not good enough. Ego needs emotionally to be okay. Okay. So now, listen, there are certain friends that define security in a different way, and that's okay, no problem. Just the way the evolution of what is my experience through many step studies, stuff like that, this seems to be the most powerful way, and also just something that's not already offered in the first paragraph. Okay, so now, so our security, our ambition was already talked about, personal relationship was already talked about. Now circle sex relations. That's new. Sex relations. Circle sex relations. Highlight sex relations in yellow, please. Okay, perfect. Which had been interfered with. Circle, no, don't circle, please. Highlight in yellow, interfered with. So no, interfered with, okay? So notice these areas of self that we have circled have been either from page 65, we highlight in yellow, hurt, threatened, or even interfered with. So it doesn't have to be that someone stole money from me, my finances were actually hurt, even if they're threatened. Self is like, what? Okay. Now, if you come interfered with in yellow, if you come down to the last example on page 65, we're almost there. If we go maybe 2 or 3 minutes over, please stay with us. It's very important. I promise not to go any more than 2 or 3 minutes over. If you come down to page 65, it says my wife. And to the right of that, do you see pride there? Do you guys see pride? Yeah. Please circle the word pride and highlight in yellow. That's the 7th area of self that wasn't presented in the previous paragraphs. From circle pride, highlight pride in yellow. Page 65, example, it says my wife, the last example to the right of that, it says pride. There you go. From the circle, put a little line up. Don't use the right margin. We need the right margin. little line up in that space, please put this. How I want others to see me. My pride is how I want others to see me. Someone who should be respected, a great employee, a good father, a guru in Alcoholics Anonymous. How I want others to see me. Silly, isn't it? And I buy into that crap. How I want others to see me. Okay, perfect. So we did the third column now. Okay, so now the last two things we're going to do, we're going to write a note, and I'm going to show you an example of the sheet that it's going to be emailed to you. Kristen, can you please make sure to put that sheet that I sent in the WhatsApp page, if you can put the link to it in the chat so people can download it, please, and thank you. Okay, so now, if you could now turn the right column, which should be completely empty, counterclockwise, so the right column is facing you, please. The right column is facing you. Go to the very top left of the right column. We're going to write long ways, okay? We'll give yourself lots of room. Top left, please write call dot 3. That means column 3. We're going to put everything into one place because it was all over the place to column 3, right? Call dot 3 dash 7 areas of self, colon. Call dot 3 dash 7 areas of self, colon. For those friends that have to go, please make sure to get it from somebody. Because the assignment now, by the way, by next week, we're going to do 3 for the first 3 columns. So for those who want to do this together with us, okay? So call that dash 7 areas of self, colon, highlight that, highlight in yellow, because we wanted to make this stand out. Call dot 3 dash 7 areas of self, highlight in yellow. To the right of the column, we're going to write some words, and we're going to put commas around commas after them. And if you have to go to a second line, go to a second line after. Ready? Self-esteem, comma. So all the things we highlighted, we're going to put it together, right? Self-esteem, that's one area of self. Self-esteem, comma. To the next, pride, comma. Ambition, comma. Self-esteem, comma, pride, comma, ambition, comma, security, comma. Security, comma. I went to the next line below it. Personal relationships, comma. Sex relations, comma. And the last is pocketbook. And don't worry, everything is highlighted. So if you miss it, you just go back. And there's a reason, and I'm going to show you the template that I made a while ago. There is a reason I put them together. Self-esteem and pride are like opposite sides of the same coin. Okay. Ambition and security go really well together the way we define it. Ambition is what I want. Security is what I need. What does my ego need emotionally? Personal relationships and sex relations go together very well. And pocketbook is sort of on its own. Okay, so we're good with that. I'm just going to share my screen here. Thank you for staying. Just a couple more minutes and we'll end it as always. Today I'm going to be able to stay for 40 minutes only. I got a work appointment to go to. This will be emailed to everybody. Make sure you're on our email list. Do you guys see this? Everyone can see it, yeah? So look, name. Below it, I put person, institution, principles. So we put one name per page, okay? So the assignment is, and Everly's going to remind you in the email, the assignment is first thing we do is we make a master list of resentments. On one piece of paper, all the resentments that we have. People, institutions, principle, currently, right? Resentments that we have. And then we transfer each name to each sheet. So if I have resentment against John, Bill, and Bob, John gets one sheet, next sheet, Bill gets one, and Bob gets one, okay? One name per sheet. Notice the second column, the cause, comma, why am I resentful? Exactly like the big book. And we put a little bracket at the bottom, be specific, short, to the point. Okay? Just a reminder. The third column, look, it says affects mine. Which of the 7 areas of self has this resentment affected? Notice I put yes, no. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about this and we finish. So for the new person, And the way the big book has it, I just listed sex, relations, self-esteem, that it has fear on the side, right? So for the new person, all of the working definitions, they're going to have these working definitions in the big book as they're doing it, right? Or for anybody here. And all I'm asking is self-esteem, yes or no? Pride based on this definition, yes or no? Yes or no? It's just simple, just very simple. That's how I only do it with the new people, or anyone else, doesn't matter. I'll talk about this though, just briefly. It's not for new people. It's not for new people, okay? People that have gone through this work, they have a lot of experience writing a lot of inventories. Some of my elders, some of them that have passed on, what they started to realize is that just the yes or no or writing it wasn't quite unpacking spiritually what they needed to unpack. So what they started to do is write a few words on either of them. Right? For example, self-esteem, feel less than. Not good enough. Pride, like pride is how I want others to see me, right? Someone who's to be respected, a good employee, that's effective, right? Emotional security, so ambition, I want him to apologize to me, be nicer to me. Emotional security, what did I need emotionally? In that case, when my boss was yelling at me, emotionally, I need respect. For him to respect me. Personal relationships, yes, negatively, lack of trust. Sex relations, probably not in that case, but let's say sometimes I don't want it to be a stretch either, right? Sometimes it could be, I have a relationship with my boss that's contentious. He's always yelling at me. And when I go home, I'm just never in the mood. You know what I mean? So it directly affects my sex relations with my wife, maybe. I'm just making things up, right? But I also don't want to make it stretch like that, right? Just if it really fits. And pocketbook, yeah, in this case it does. I may not get the promotion, I may be fired. Sure it does, right? So I write a few words. So for anyone who's new, as you're passing it on, please, just only yes or no is sufficient, or anybody. But if you're really moved to put a few words describing based on these definitions, you're more than welcome to do so. More than welcome to do so. Okay, and again, Everly, Kristen's going to put a link to that in the chat for you to save it. Everly is going to email you this afterwards, probably today or tomorrow, with the next couple of days, with everything that we've covered today. Everything that we've covered today. I think that's it. I'm going to stay for about 45 minutes for any questions. Again, thank you guys so much. Again, always anybody that's that has any questions, stay. If you need to get caught up, please get caught up. And for some reason, maybe I'm off. I feel like I yelled a lot today. Oh my God, I just feel like my